The last window we will show you is the Property Inspector. We will come back to this window repeatedly in our instruction as we learn more about the different components of Director, so this will just serve as an introduction. One way to access the Property Inspector is by selecting Inspectors under the window menu, and then selecting Property under the submenu that appears. The Property Inspector allows us to view and change the properties of just about anything in Director. For instance, let's suppose we wanted to change the color of our stage so that our text cast members blended in better. We can change this property by selecting the stage and selecting the Movie tab on the Property Inspector. Now, one of the properties of a movie's stage is its color, represented by the stage icon with the paint bucket over it. It's called the stage fill color. Now, by clicking on the color chip here, we can change the color of our stage to white. We see that reflected on our stage. We've just changed a property of the stage using the Property Inspector. Similarly, we could also change the size of our stage here. And we see the stage size icon here. And we could change this to, say, I don't know, if we wanted it just a little bit bigger, 450 by 450, and watch as it updates. And we can even just switch it back, because I think 400 fit our screen better. All right. Now, the Property Inspector changes based on what object is selected. Different objects have different properties, and so, of course, the Property Inspector is going to change as different objects are selected. It presents properties that are relevant to the selected object. For instance, perhaps you remember how before we flipped our text sprite horizontally. That was because that property only became available under the Property Inspector when we selected a sprite. So if we select a sprite, notice our Property Inspector changed, and we have our sprite properties here. So we could change that property. We could flip it horizontally here. Okay. So that ability to flip horizontally is a property that only makes sense in the context of a sprite. For instance, if we select the text cast member, which is over here, okay, the flip horizontal property is not available to us. We can check all the tabs here, and nowhere do we see flip horizontally. Because it doesn't make sense to flip the cast member in the cast window, which is what we would be doing here. It only makes sense in the context of a sprite on the stage. Now, as I said before, we will explore in more detail all the many things that you can do with the Property Inspector as we introduce different components in Director.